You'd think playing at Old Trafford against a team with 6 points after 20 games would be pretty straightforward. After all, United went to Anfield, got a point, we just knocked Arsenal out of the FA Cup. Well, things are never that easy when United are involved. We did eventually get the win, mainly because Ahmad is just that freaking good, but it was largely a tough watch. Southampton just thoroughly outplayed us. They played virtually the same system, they just did it better. How did they do it though, and what did they do to get things ticking? First of all, I'm going to talk about United's play out from the back and the impact that Zirkzee had onto this team, and then I'm going to get into the pressing that United did a little bit later on in the video. Before I get into anything though guys, please drop a like if you enjoy, subscribe if you're new around here, and let's get into it. So first off, this is United with the ball. Southampton were very aggressive in that man-to-man press, but the one player they didn't really press was Onana. With him, they were happy just to sit back and say, right, what are you going to do then? Because when you look at their positions of their players, you can see how high Walker-Peters is on Ahmad. He's their wing-back. When you compare that to United's wing-backs later on in the video, it's a little bit different. But when they left Onana with the ball, United didn't really have many answers for it. A little bit later on, once Onana has the ball, you can see Southampton still there, aggressively pressing man-to-man, but saying to Onana, right, we'll just pass it through us. He eventually passes it off to Martinez, he gets it back from Martinez. Look how much time has passed on that clock. And then all United do eventually is just end up kicking it long to Garnacho. After all that time United have just spent trying to pass it around between the defenders, it ends up just being kicked long to Garnacho. Southampton easily just mopped that up. It was either Garnacho or Højlund that was on the end of these long balls, and it happened all night long. Again, another example, you can see Southampton again in that really aggressive man-to-man press. Once again, Walker-Peters very, very high up the pitch. United marking United's midfielders out of the game. De Ligt again inverted into that sort of midfield role. Don't like it, never have. De Ligt in there. He's not really going to be comfortable receiving the ball in that position, but he's marked anyway. But United again, this time around, we do end up getting it out to Mazraoui. But again, clock the time is taken in between these two images. About 20 seconds later, almost, you end up getting the ball out to Mazraoui. Ends up playing a long ball up to Højlund. Can't make it stick. Not really his fault this time, but he can't make it stick and Southampton get the ball back again. This constantly kept happening. It was either a long ball by Onana or we'd play it out to a wing back and they'd be forced to kick it long. Southampton were very aggressive in that press, especially in the first half, and it worked. Obviously that time I said Højlund couldn't really do much with it. But the one thing to beat an aggressive man-to-man press like Southampton were doing, like United do need to be better in their patterns, trying to move the Southampton players around. But the other option you've got is playing it long into the striker and beating the press that way. Playing a little bit more direct. If you do that, obviously, if you can make it stick, then the opposition have less faith in that press, knowing that you can play that simple ball out. But this is where Zirkzee did really become the difference maker for United. He was helped by United players being a little bit more aggressive and sort of being around him a little bit more, closer to him in that second half. But Zirkzee definitely did do a little bit better than Højlund at making that ball stick. You can see here with Højlund, ball's played into his feet. He's got a couple of Southampton players around him, ends up simply just losing the ball. Southampton get the ball in a dangerous area. A little bit later on, again, Højlund tries to flick around the corner, ends up going back to the Southampton player. He just simply wasn't making it stick. A little bit later when Zirkzee came on, you can see here he's got the flick on. Still aggressively, the Southampton player is on his back. But this time around, he manages to find a United player. I could pick sort of 4 or 5 examples of Zirkzee doing that in the second half. And it led United just to get further up the pitch, get men forward. And that's what eventually led to United getting a bit of pressure and getting back into this game. Both Zirkzee and Højlund have to do a lot better. But Zirkzee did show Højlund in that sort of holder play in this particular game how it's done. Whether it lasts though, we know with these strikers now, they tend to have good cameos. When they start games, it all just falls apart. So I'm not going to come out here and say that Zirkzee definitely needs to start the next game and that's where United need to go. I think they will. But when he's starting games, he's got to do the same as what he did in that cameo. Otherwise, it's just a merry-go-round of strikers. And now, while Southampton did seem to have so much joy in pinning us in, United didn't do so well in restricting them. Again, Southampton did very similar things to United. They inverted the centre-back, but they just did a much better job at pinning United's back five and creating space in that midfield. Amorim talked about Ugarte and Mino and their legs after the Arsenal game and how they struggled. That's why he took them off so early. But I don't think we helped them in that midfield while United were trying to press. We didn't back them up enough. Prime example here. You got Fernandes pressing the goalkeeper. Ball ends up going out to the centre-back. You look at Mino. He's not sure whether to go and press that midfielder higher up the pitch or whether to stay and mark the guy that's in behind him in the space. He ends up getting caught between the two of them. He's not backed up by one of the centre-backs. Southampton end up easily beating United's press. Mino's there trying to backtrack, trying to get back into position. You can see where Martinez not really marking anyone, ends up sort of having someone directly running at him. Whereas Southampton's centre-backs were there right up to United's players, right in their back whenever they received the ball. It was different with Southampton. They were allowed to turn, allowed to run in United's defence. It caused United's problems all night long. At times, United centre-backs were sort of 3-on-1 up front, and that is never going to make any sense if you're going to try and press teams higher up the pitch. It especially doesn't make sense if you're playing at Old Trafford. And to top it off then, you got Fernandes of Southampton playing in that false nine position, and he caused United headaches all game. He drifted all around the pitch, and United centre-backs simply just didn't want to follow him. Both De Ligt and Maguire playing in that centre-back position, they love a physical battle. They would prefer to play against someone like Haaland, a type who's going to stick on the last line of defence, have that physical battle with them, rather than someone who plays in that false nine role. Someone like Fernandes drifting all around the pitch, dragging United centre-backs into midfield, that's when our centre-backs start to struggle. It's not just Maguire and De Ligt. We saw the same with Martinez and Euro as well. When they were pulled into uncomfortable positions in one-on-one different areas of the pitch, they were really struggling. And we were just lucky Southampton didn't capitalise on that more. But in this 3-4-3 system, the centre-backs have to be better, have to be more proactive if you're going to press teams higher up the pitch. Southampton did it to us. But I just don't know why United can't do it themselves. Don't know whether it's confidence, don't know whether it is just having training time on the pitch with Amorim, but I don't think Southampton have had a ton of training time on the pitch with their manager either. But they were so much better in that system than United were. So I don't really know what it is. But going up against teams now, playing at Old Trafford, playing bottom of the league, you'd expect United to be playing on the front foot. But until United centre-backs get comfortable in really pressing opposition players higher up the pitch in this 3-4-3 system, then I just don't see how we can play games on the front foot. So there we are, guys. It's easier for this United team, we know, to play against harder teams when you can sort of sit back a little bit more in that 5-4-1, when obviously you'd expected to come out at Old Trafford and actually press teams and try and pin them in their own box. That's where we're still really struggling. Amorim knows this, so I do expect him to come up with some stuff to obviously make United better at it. Because he knows United have been this transition team for quite some time now. So he knows he's got a lot of work to do in getting this United team sort of better with the ball, trying to play out, and also better at pinning the opposition teams back into their own half and playing games on the front foot. But as always, guys, if you enjoyed this video, please subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one.